In the heart of Aurora, Colorado, Angela Craig was known for her warm smile and unwavering dedication to her family. As a devoted mother of 6, her life seemed picture-perfect, especially with her husband, James Craig, by her side. But behind the carefully curated image of happiness, a chilling truth lurked beneath the surface. Angela's sudden and mysterious health issues would unravel a web of deceit, betrayal, and a sinister plan crafted by the very person she trusted the most. Born on April 15, 1975, in the lively town of Dodge City, Kansas, Angela was a cherished part of a large family with 10 siblings. She was known for her quick wit, intelligence, and the kind of charm that made her the heart of any gathering. Despite her allergies, she had a deep love for animals, a passion that remained with her throughout her life. An avid reader and talented woodworker, Angela found joy in creativity. As a student of interior design, she had a gift for transforming spaces into something beautiful. But above all else, family was her greatest priority. She formed deep bonds with her siblings and was always the first to extend a helping hand, whether to loved ones or complete strangers. Her fascination with genealogy led her to become a family history consultant, helping others reconnect with long-lost relatives. Angela was also deeply involved in her church, serving as a choir director, teacher, and youth group leader. Her life took a new turn on December 18, 1999, when she married James Craig, a man with ambitious dreams of becoming a doctor. 7 years later, in 2006, those dreams became a reality when James earned his doctorate in dental surgery from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. While at the university, he played a pivotal role in establishing the International Dental Program, helping foreign-born dentists obtain their U.S. licenses. By October 2006, James had launched his own dental practice in Aurora, Colorado. Over the next 23 years, Angela and James built a bustling household, welcoming 6 children into their lives. Despite the miles that separated them, Angela remained incredibly close to her siblings, especially her sister, Toni, who lived in Utah. The two spoke on the phone every day and shared many cherished trips together. With James's thriving dental practice and Angela's deep-rooted connections within the local community, the Craig family appeared to be the epitome of happiness. But in reality, something far more sinister was unfolding. On the morning of March 15, 2023, at precisely 11 a.m., Angela was suddenly rushed to the hospital, gripped by an excruciating headache, dizziness, and relentless nausea. James stayed by her side, offering what seemed like unwavering support during the terrifying ordeal. But as doctors worked tirelessly to determine the cause, Angela's condition took a devastating turn for the worse. By 2 p.m., the situation had become dire, far beyond what anyone had expected. Then, without warning, Angela suffered a severe seizure. Doctors sprang into action, placing her on life support as her shocked and heartbroken family scrambled for answers. This was her 3rd hospital visit in just 10 days, each time with the same symptoms: pounding headaches, relentless nausea, and dizziness. Yet, despite multiple evaluations, no one could pinpoint the cause. This time, however, the situation was far graver. The medical team was baffled, and time was running out. As Angela's condition rapidly worsened, 2 close friends arrived at the hospital, Ryan Redfern and his wife. Ryan, a fellow dentist and longtime friend of James from their university days, was more than just a friend. He was also a financial partner in James's dental practice. When James faced financial struggles in 2021, Ryan had stepped in to help save the business. Ryan's wife, a highly experienced nurse with a doctorate in nursing, was aware of Angela's ongoing health issues and wanted to offer her support. Angela's mysterious symptoms had first appeared on March 5, 2023, shortly after she returned from visiting her sister in Utah. Feeling unwell, she sought medical attention the next day. But after a brief evaluation, doctors found nothing concerning. They prescribed standard medication, advised her to rest, and sent her home. However, her condition only worsened. By March 9th, she was back in the hospital, raising alarm among her friends. That same day, while Angela was still hospitalized, Ryan's wife reached out to James, offering her expertise and assistance. James, though appreciative, reassured her that they had everything under control. The following day, March 10th, she checked in again, hoping for an update on Angela's condition and once more offering her help. This time, James's response carried a different tone, one of growing concern. He admitted that despite the doctors running numerous tests, including multiple blood draws, they were no closer to an answer. So far, all standard blood work had come back normal. Autoimmune disorders and diabetes had been ruled out. Yet, Angela's condition was far from stable. Her blood pressure remained alarmingly low, despite receiving 5 liters of IV fluids in just 24 hours. Even with medical intervention, she still felt incredibly unwell. The doctors decided to keep her under observation for another night, hoping she would be strong enough to return home the next day. Over the following days, Ryan's wife continued to check in, her concern unwavering. James shared updates, explaining that additional tests had been ordered, including an MRI due to a family history of brain tumors, as well as CT scans and ultrasounds of Angela's head, chest, and abdomen. Strangely, every test came back normal. There was no clear medical explanation for her deteriorating condition. Eventually, Angela was discharged and sent home. But the most troubling question still remained. What was making her so sick? If all of Angela's medical reports showed she was in perfect health, then why was she deteriorating with each passing day? The question lingered, but time was running out. On March 15, 2023, Angela's condition took a devastating turn. This time, her symptoms were even more severe: crippling dizziness, relentless nausea, and unbearable stomach pain. Desperate for help, she tried reaching James at his clinic, but he was unreachable. In distress, she called her brother, who wasted no time rushing her to the hospital. Angela was admitted at 11 a.m., her condition growing more dire by the minute. Upon receiving the frantic call, James hurried to be by his wife's side. Amid the chaos, he reached out to his partner's wife, sharing the distressing news and even sending her 2 photos of Angela lying in her hospital bed. But as doctors worked to stabilize her, Angela's condition spiraled out of control. She suffered a sudden stroke and became unresponsive. Deeply alarmed, Ryan and his wife decided they needed to be there. On their way to the hospital, they sent James a message, letting him know they were coming to offer support. But just moments into their drive, Ryan's phone rang. It was Caitlin, the relatively new office manager at James's dental practice. Her voice was tense as she shared something that made the situation even more unsettling. Caitlin recalled an incident from March 6th, 2023, that had been bothering her. That evening, she had been working late at the office when James unexpectedly arrived. There were no scheduled patients, so his presence seemed odd. What struck her as even stranger was that instead of heading to his personal office, he walked down the hall and logged into a computer inside one of the exam rooms, something he never did. Caitlin couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Roughly 30 minutes after she left the office, Caitlin received a text from James. He mentioned that a personal package would be arriving at the clinic and made an unusual request. He wanted her to ensure it was received, but insisted that no one else open it. A week later, on March 13th, the package finally arrived. But when Caitlin went to retrieve it, she realized that a colleague had already opened it. Remembering James's strict instructions, she quickly resealed the package and handed it over to him. However, as she repackaged it, her eyes caught something that sent a chill down her spine. Stamped on the box was a hazardous materials label. The label was unmistakable, a hazardous materials warning stamped onto a cylindrical container. But what truly made Caitlin's heart pound was the chilling text written on it: potassium cyanide. At first, she tried to rationalize it. Perhaps it had a legitimate medical or dental use she wasn't aware of. Not wanting to jump to conclusions, she carefully resealed the box and handed it over to James. But later that day, her unease deepened when she saw James leaving the office, gripping the container tightly, now wrapped in brown paper. Something wasn't right. Curious and unsettled, Caitlin turned to Google. As she read through the results, her stomach dropped. The symptoms of potassium cyanide poisoning matched Angela's condition almost exactly. Nausea, vomiting, dizziness, and dangerously low blood pressure. It was all there. A terrifying realization set in. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Angela was slipping further away. Ryan, still reeling from what Caitlin had just told him, arrived to find her on life support. Without hesitation, he pulled aside a nurse, his voice urgent. He revealed his growing fear that Angela had been poisoned by James with potassium cyanide. The nurse, though momentarily stunned, took the claim seriously. She immediately ordered additional tests and made a critical decision. She called 911. The authorities needed to know what was happening. At that moment, James stepped outside to take a phone call, giving Ryan and his wife the opportunity to leave the hospital unnoticed. But before they could even process what had just happened, Ryan's phone rang again. It was James, and he was furious. James demanded to know why they had left so suddenly and accused them of setting him up. He claimed that hospital staff now suspected him of poisoning Angela, but Ryan didn't back down. He confronted James directly, asking him the question that had been haunting him. Why did you order potassium cyanide? Trapped, James finally admitted the truth. He had purchased the deadly chemical. But his explanation was chilling. He insisted that Angela had asked him to buy it, never imagining she would actually use it. After their tense conversation, James sent Ryan a desperate text. He begged him not to share what they had discussed with anyone, especially the police. James argued that Ryan's involvement would only make things worse for his family. His frustration was obvious, but Ryan knew there was no turning back. Something was very wrong. Determined to seek justice, Ryan made a critical decision. He contacted the police and told them everything. He urged them to investigate further before it was too late. Later that night, well past midnight, investigators arrived at the hospital to assess Angela's dire condition. She remained on life support, showing no signs of brain activity. The next morning, on March 16, 2023, they turned their attention to Caitlin, the office manager. That's when the horrifying puzzle began to take shape. Caitlin didn't hold back. She recounted a disturbing detail. On the morning of March 6, 2023, just before Angela's first hospital visit, James had prepared a protein shake for her. He had even boasted about it at work, portraying himself as a doting husband. But shortly after drinking it, Angela suddenly became dizzy. From that moment on, her health began to spiral. Caitlin also revealed what she knew about the mysterious package and her growing suspicions about the potassium cyanide. She explained that the lethal chemical could mimic Angela's symptoms and, in some cases, be fatal. Ryan, who had joined the conversation at the dental office, provided even more disturbing insight. He shattered the illusion of the seemingly perfect Craig family. Back in 2021, when James was facing bankruptcy, he had confided in Ryan, not just about his financial struggles, but also about his crumbling marriage. At the time, James had been contemplating divorce. But what Ryan revealed next was even more shocking. James had told him that Angela had considered taking her own life in 2022 through an overdose. He claimed that he had stepped in just in time to save her. And, according to James, Angela's supposed self-harming tendencies had only worsened after he officially asked for a divorce in December 2022. But despite these claims, James never reported any of Angela's alleged behavior to the authorities. He never sought professional help for her. Instead, he kept everything hidden. Now, in light of recent events, his secrecy raised far more questions than answers. To uncover the truth, police turned to the couple's 6 children. What they revealed would be crucial to understanding Angela's final days. Surprisingly, when investigators spoke to the Craig children, they painted an entirely different picture of their mother. They described Angela as happy, full of energy, and vibrant, with no signs of the troubling behavior James had claimed. This stark contradiction only deepened the mystery and hinted at a chilling possibility. James may have been fabricating a story to cover up something far darker. As suspicion mounted against James, the police launched a full-scale investigation. They obtained search warrants for both the Craig residence and James's dental office. Their next step was to dig into James's phone records and text conversations with Angela, particularly from the days leading up to her hospitalization. What they uncovered was unsettling. March 6, 2023, the day Angela first reported feeling unwell, revealed a disturbing exchange between the couple. Angela, ever the optimist, expressed gratitude for a coffee James had made for her, her usual affection and cheer evident in her words. But soon after, she mentioned feeling dizzy and off. James, ever the concerned husband, suggested she check her blood pressure. But the conversation took a darker turn when James referenced heavy medications, hinting at concerns about Angela's health. He even compared her symptoms to those of a stroke and questioned whether she was experiencing any weakness. This exchange, combined with the mounting evidence, left investigators with a chilling sense of unease. James seemed oddly aware of Angela's condition, as if he knew precisely what to ask about. But there was something troubling in his awareness, something that felt less like concern and more like calculation. The investigation took a dramatic turn when police decided to search James's computer. What they uncovered was damning. James had 2 separate email accounts linked to him, and his search history raised serious red flags. In February, just a month before Angela's hospitalization, he had Googled phrases like, "How many grams of pure arsenic does it take to kill a human? Can arsenic be detected in an autopsy?" The search didn't stop there. James had also looked up chemical suppliers in the area, further intensifying suspicions. But the most damning discovery came from an Amazon purchase James made. A product labeled as 99.999% crystalline metalloid arsenic. The product description was chilling, explicitly stating that ingesting this chemical could be fatal. As if that wasn't terrifying enough, further scrutiny of James's online activity revealed even more alarming patterns. James had watched a series of YouTube videos, one titled Top 5 Undetectable Poisons That Don't Show Signs of Murder. The video offered detailed instructions on how to make plant-based poisons, and the search history included 3 more queries related to homemade poisons, specifically from plants. But even these horrifying discoveries weren't the end of it. The investigators' search didn't end with arsenic and cyanide. In fact, they uncovered another chilling video on James's computer, one that detailed the effects of cyanide and arsenic poisoning. It explained how difficult it was for doctors to detect these deadly substances in the body, especially if the poisoning occurred over time. It was a subtle but powerful piece of information that seemed to match Angela's gradual decline. But the most incriminating discovery came when they found an order James had placed for potassium cyanide, the same substance Caitlin had suspected all along. At this point, the pieces of the puzzle were falling into place. It was becoming increasingly clear. James had been poisoning Angela all along. But why? What would drive a man to poison his wife, the mother of his 6 children? Was it a desire for divorce, a way to escape his marriage without the complications of custody battles or financial settlements? As investigators dug deeper, they began to interview close friends and family members of the Craig family. Angela's sister, in particular, provided crucial insight that cast a dark shadow over the entire situation. She revealed that, behind closed doors, Angela's marriage to James was far from the picture-perfect relationship they presented to the world. Angela's sister disclosed that James had a history of extramarital affairs, and his infidelity had been an ongoing issue throughout their marriage. But the revelations didn't stop there. James had also confessed to Angela about his long-standing addiction to inappropriate online material, something that had been troubling for her for years. This painted an entirely new, sinister portrait of their marriage. One of the most disturbing incidents came from an unsettling conversation Angela had with her sister about 5 or 6 years earlier. Angela had confided that she suspected James had deliberately drugged her, not to harm her directly, but to prevent her from interfering in his behavior. This revelation seemed to connect to the strange text messages exchanged between James and Angela, where he seemed overly concerned about her symptoms and was seemingly always one step ahead of her. However, police were still skeptical of James's explanation about drugging Angela. His story seemed unreasonable, too far-fetched to be taken at face value. Yet the more they uncovered, the more they realized that James's manipulative tactics went beyond just poisoning. Angela's sister also shared that Angela had longed to escape her marriage, a sentiment she had expressed repeatedly over the past 16 years. But every time Angela tried to leave, James would manipulate her, playing on her fears, guilt, and insecurities until she stayed. This constant emotional manipulation seemed to have taken its toll on Angela, making her feel trapped and helpless in her own home. The turmoil in James and Angela's marriage went far beyond their personal conflicts. It spilled into James's struggling dental practice, which was in severe financial distress. In an even more disturbing twist, it was revealed that James had taken a risky gamble in Las Vegas, where he lost over $2,000, despite already being $2 million in debt. To the police, it was clear. Beneath the veneer of a perfect marriage, the Craig household was teetering on the brink of collapse. The investigation uncovered even more damning evidence when police found emails detailing round-trip flights booked on 2 separate occasions. The tickets were reserved for Karen, an orthodontist based in Texas with whom James had been having an affair. The emails between them were far from professional. They were filled with intimate language and sentiments. In fact, Karen had filed for divorce in 2022, and unbeknownst to Angela, she and James had been in a relationship. Further investigation revealed something even more chilling. The flights were booked on the same day that arsenic had been delivered to James's home. This timing suggested that James had planned for March 16th to be a pivotal day, not only to be with Karen, but to finalize his cruel scheme. One of Karen's emails to James, subject line, "See you soon," expressed regret over the events unfolding in his life that week. She apologized for not being more involved and for keeping her distance. As all of this was unraveling, hospital staff worked tirelessly to save Angela. Tragically, on March 18th, 2023, at 4:29 p.m., Angela was declared brain dead. She passed away without ever knowing the full extent of what her husband had been plotting. Just hours after Angela was removed from life support, James was officially charged with first-degree premeditated murder. He barely had time to process the weight of the charges before he was arrested on March 19th. A few days later, he stood before a Colorado courtroom for his initial appearance. The courtroom was filled with family, friends, and even some of James and Angela's children, all stunned and shaken by the events that had unfolded. The 45-year-old man in the orange jumpsuit, handcuffed, was a far cry from the smiling figure in family photos, the man they thought they knew. Along with the first-degree murder charge, James was also hit with a second charge, tampering with physical evidence. The judge set his bail at $10 million, a reflection of the severity of the charges against him. James's trial is set for December 2024. but the damage had already been done. A week after Angela's death, new and disturbing information surfaced. Angela had 3 life insurance policies in her name. While this had not been confirmed as part of James's scheme, it raised the chilling possibility that the life insurance payouts were part of his twisted plan to escape his financial troubles, along with his affair. Now, Angela's 6 children were left to cope with the unfathomable loss of their mother, while their father stood trial for her murder. Angela's children had always been her pride and joy, and after James's arrest, her family stepped in to care for them. They made it clear that James's extended family should not be held responsible for his horrific actions. In Angela's obituary, her family and loved ones sought to capture the essence of her life, not defined by tragedy, but by the joy, love, and passion she brought to the world. When Angela was declared brain dead, her family made the selfless decision to donate her organs. Though they couldn't save her, they found bittersweet comfort in knowing that her legacy lived on through the lives she helped save. Thank you for tuning into our channel. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.